Hello, everyone. I am Regina, and you are you. So, welcome to Trans Voices of Love and Kindness for our Sunday show. Holy smokes, I am excited, and life is good. So let's take care of business. Let me figure all this out. I'm not good at it. So we're brought to you by Raised Rose Coffee. www. Raised Rose Coffee. And today I'm drinking a very nice Sumatran, kind of a darker roast. The name of this coffee is a Badak. And we've had it hanging around for a couple of weeks now, or maybe even a month, and it's just a lovely coffee. I'd kind of gotten to where I wasn't drinking much Sumatran. Not that I didn't like it, I just wasn't drinking very much of it, and this has been so good that I have continually brought pounds home that I never do before. It's really a nice coffee. And so with all that, let's get down to liking the show. Be sure to hit that like button. Let's like this show. Let's build this algorithm and subscribe to this channel. I want to thank everybody who already subscribes, but we could sure use more subscriptions. And ring the bell, stay notified, because, sometimes things happen and I'll pop on here, or something comes up and I can't make it, and so I've got to be able to let you know. So be sure and hit that notification bell. And oh gosh, without further ado, let's just talk about the topic for today. I called it log rolling. I love the whole log rolling word. What the hell's log rolling? Log rolling is a synonym for activism, which we were talking about, in our little chats, trying to come up with a topic. And I want to talk about activism a little bit in regards to climate. We got the climate summit going on, and there's all this log rolling that goes into effect, but we can do something to help out, and that's how. And so here we are. We're nobodies, and Casey and I were talking about this a little bit ago about nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to. But if we join hands and walk down that street and we get hundreds of thousands of people, we've got power then. We've got something to work with, and let people know that this is no joke about the climate. But I'm getting way ahead of myself here. I wanted to tell a story about log rolling, because there's a sport, log rolling, and it comes from these log drives. In my adopted home of Idaho, where I lived for close to 20 years in central Idaho, there was a river there that was famous for its log drives. And in Idaho, in central Idaho, I call it canyon country, because everything is steep as all get out. And so these loggers would stack the logs at the top of a hill, and then they would build a flume that went down to the river. And so then they would take these logs and set them up in that flume, divert some water, and shoosh, down to the river it'd go. Well, then at the end of the winter, when the water was high, they would start collecting logs in the river and put these in, yard them up somehow, string the outside logs all together, And then there were guys that walked on these logs. And so when the water was high, they would get the Wanigan out there, which was the meal place and the bedroom for all these guys that worked on the river. And they would start yarding these logs down the river. And these guys that were out there working, if you can imagine 1,000 logs in the river, and if you fell off of the log, you were probably lost. You weren't going to survive in a raging river, because they did this at high water time. And I've seen the Clearwater River at high water. Trust me. It was one year it wiped out 8 houses in the town I lived in, and I lived in a town of 100 people, and it took out 8 houses, and so it can be some serious stuff. But I digress. So this is where log rolling came from, because all these guys are, and so in their fun times, they would like see who could knock the other dude off the log. I've done this in campfires where, tried to put the other guy in the campfire and whatnot. Such fun, kids will have fun. So anyway, that's my story. The big log drives down the Clearwater River, up here in Idaho, and then right into the Snake. But the mills were right there at Lewiston, and probably a log drive of close to 100 miles. I'm not sure how far it was. But you can go into the Dworshak Reservoir. There's a viewing room in there, or the dam at Dworshak, and there's a theater, and they show these films. You can actually hit a button and it'll play this film of the Wanigan. And that's where I got turned on to the whole thing, was watching that film. The film was so old and that I got car sick watching it, because you ever been there? Oh my stars. It was just crazy. I had to leave. But it was interesting. I had that happen at a movie theater. Remember there was some science fiction deal, and the aliens were trapped someplace in South Africa, and it was done with video cameras, and oh my God, I'm sitting there in the theater watching this, and all of a sudden I'm just sick as a dog. I had to run out of the theater, and then I get in the bathroom, and after 5 minutes I'd be, I'm going to go back and do that again. And then it dawned on me, that it's a damn movie that's making me sick. So I'm just hunkered down in my seat at the theater. Horrible, and to go run into the bathroom again. God, I never wanted to watch that. What was it? The District or something, I think was the name of it. I don't know. It was crazy. It wasn't a very nice movie.
Oh, I know that movie. Yeah, District 79 or 39 or something like that.
Yeah, District 49. I don't know. Anyway, let me quit talking, blabbering on. Get my good friend Casey in here. Hey, sweetheart.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Well, good. Tell me about your comic.
I am the writer, creator, editor, and graphic design artist for Dreams into Reality Comics. It is the graphic sponsor for this channel, and I will put the link in the chat, and it's basically the story of my transition and how it affects those around me, and how I come to figure things out about myself, and with a little bit of comedy thrown in there just for giggles and whatnot. It's a good several people have told me it's a good comic. I've got 20 or something subscribers to the comic already, so links in the chat. Feel free to swing over and take a peek if you want to. leave a comment if you want. And yeah,
Excellent.
glad to have you.
Thanks, Casey. Well, we don't have Lara with us today. I'm sorry to say that she got called away on family business or whatever. I'm not even sure what the deal was. She just said that she couldn't make it today. So in her stead, we have our moderator extraordinaire, Miss Christy Jean.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Christy.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. You know, full of piss and vinegar today, it appears. So, I mean, that kind of keeps the ball rolling a little bit, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've got 19 comments already. We probably better take a break and look and see what we got going on. Simone was our first person here today, besides us. And hi, Simone. I saw Simone here, and since she got out of bed to join us, I thought, oh, we better get going. Good to see you, Simone. And oh, it's you guys. Just there's our link. And Sarah's here.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah.
So anybody else out there, just say something. Oh, Simone's still in bed. Yes. All right. Good to see you, Sarah. Yeah. Wahoo. Okay, so let's get rolling here.
Haha.
So I want to talk about deforestation and the agreement to stop deforestation around the world, where it was 100 and some countries said that by 2030, we're not going to be, it's going to be equal. For every tree we cut, we'll put one in. So my question is, and then of course, Indonesia wanted to back out of that. I'm not going to forget this because they wanted to back out of it right after they signed it. And they've got like the third largest continuous rainforest in the world. And, those are like the big filtration systems for the air and the CO2. And why do they not want to be part of this? It's about money, and in my opinion, my esteemed, humble opinion is we could stop logging tomorrow. I mean, we could go to this 1-on-1 or 10-to-1, plant 10 trees for everyone that's cut down. What's the holdup here in the Northwest, which has always been a big logging area? There's been tree farms forever. They started planting trees back, some of those forests would now be 70 years old, almost old growth in their own right. We've got to quit cutting old growth forests and let those old growth natural thing, when I see Casey's kids in the screen, I think how much trouble that their life is going to be if we don't change, if we don't start changing the ways of the world. And the corporations seem to have the politicians by the balls, if you'll pardon the expression. And they don't seem to be doing the job of stewardship for this planet. It's the only one we've got. We're not billionaires and we can't make our own spaceships to shoot us off someplace else. Yeah. And so what do we have to do? That's why I wanted to talk about activism. What can we do? What does it take to join hands and show some unity of the nobodies in this world, because I would rank us up there, you know, and work together to actually get people to stand up and say, enough is enough. Let's take care of this. We only have each other. So what do we got to do to get things going? And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Thoughts, anyone?
Well, I mean, it can start on it can start at the personal local level. Thank you, Sarah. It can start at the personal local level, go buy a tree. I mean, they can't, even if you start from a seed, seeds don't cost that much. But if you just get like a little already, partially grown little sapling, and drop it in the backyard. I mean, it's a small price to pay for the benefit that it will have in the long run. I mean, there's only so much we can do. We can go and hound the politicians and write petitions and whatnot, until we're blue in the face. But like they're only going to listen so much, and even then, certain politicians, especially the ones who, aren't really fond of us in the first place, are going to listen to us even less. But like, just planting trees, supporting organizations that are already planting trees. They're small things. There are coalitions and groups all over the place that's what they do. They go around and plant trees everywhere. And Google searches will help you. Well, you can find them. A lot of them don't require much of a donation, if anything. But at our level, that's probably one of the best ways that we can help, that we can make the change. And so like Simone says here, if you have a yard, plant eco-friendly plants. We have to help the ecosystem, and planting trees and vegetables to help spur on the circle of life will help keep things going. It's we have vegetable gardens for ourselves that we cage off to keep critters out so that we can eat. But what's it going to take to throw a couple of seeds in a spot over someplace else, so that passerby rabbits or deer have something to eat? That's if you have the space for it. If you have the space for it, you can do so much. But if you don't have the space, or you're in a place where you can't really do that, like if you're renting an apartment or whatnot, or you live someplace where the terrain is just not quite not quite suitable for planting, then find alternate ways.
Well, if you've got an apartment house and you've got one of those little decks or whatnot, all those places now have a little patio or something where you can go sit outside. You can put a planter or something out there and put a tomato plant or a tree or whatever. But yeah, that whole vegetable garden thing is great. There's some great videos about permaculture in backyards and creating microclimates and whatnot. And you know, I don't know if everybody understands all that or not, but it's not, you know, it's important, but you know, you can figure out a place to put a tree or a tomato plant that is going to help every plant, every green plant. You know, I just was watching a video, you all know about my agrarian background, of farming without no-till farming, and you know, quit using the pesticides and herbicides that are killing our bees. You know, because if the bees go, so do we, because they pollinate all of our food. And you know, here I'm talking, and we haven't given Christy a chance to chat at all yet.
Well,
I'm
thanks.
sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I was looking at a little different approach, actually. It's occurred to me that I think everyone needs to recognize that the Brazilian rainforest and the Indonesian rainforest as well, rainforests in a lot of ways do a lot of the purification for us, provide the oxygen that is in the atmosphere. So to me, you know, what are the incentives for people to cut those rainforests down? And from what I understand in Brazil, it's ranching, it's beef. I don't know if somebody wants to tell me otherwise, and also forestry, lumber. But you know, when you set fire to that spot, that's about the worst thing you could do. And as far as I know, we have fires there all the time, and for people burning out land to farm it or ranch it. So I think the world needs to recognize that we need to save this. We need to preserve it, and we need to restore it if we can. And I think that might come down to dollars. I don't think that's I don't think that should be taken off the table. That the country of Brazil should be compensated for keeping the rainforest, and the same for Indonesia. So in that sense, I don't know if that was brought up in the discussions, but to me, you know, if we're going to work as a team across the planet, but I do think that's part of what should be considered a solution. So yeah, that's one take on it. The other take is, what are we using those forest products for, and can we find alternatives that are energy efficient and maybe more locally produced? So,
Well, I never thought about compensating. You know, I don't know how that would happen. You know, I don't really care about compensating big corporations. You know, they've got so damn much money now. Why would we need to give them more? And then they would turn around and figure out a reason to log anyway.
you know, we have satellites. We can monitor what's happening. I think probably as far as I can tell, a very accurate level. So, you know, it involves police enforcement as well. You know, rules within the nation, and people following those rules and people enforcing them. So
right. And the other thing about the fragmentation of the rainforest in Brazil is the number of species that can't survive in the patchwork of that rainforest. Mm-hmm. You know, because by taking half of that away, it's changing the climate there. You know, and it doesn't rain so much, but so many of those species depend upon pretty large areas, and there's not corridors made. And so, like a sloth cannot get from one patch to the other because they don't walk on the ground well, and they're like ripe for predation if they try to. And so eventually, in the fragmentation of the rainforest, many species go extinct because they can't get from one patch to another. And so this is something else that we need to watch out for, is the biological diversity of the planet becomes threatened as well. And the funny thing is that probably the weakest animal out there for survival could be us, because the plants will survive, but we might not, if it gets too hot, and so I don't know, there's talk that if we don't get this changed, then humans as we know them are doomed.
Mm-hmm.
You only got to go up 2 degrees of centigrade and the ice caps are already melting, and they're melting faster than what they had thought. And so, what can we do? I mean, they're talking 1.5 degrees is what are at now. And, and so like if we wait for India to catch up with all the accords, we'll be at 2 degrees centigrade, which is like what, 4 to 5 degrees of Fahrenheit,
Mm-hmm.
or actually it'd be 3.5 to 4 degrees of Fahrenheit.
By then it'll be too late.
What was that, Casey?
By then it'll be too late if it isn't already.
If it isn't already, that's the key. We're sitting on this. The powers that be are all controlled by the money and the corporations. So it's time for us to join hands and take more active roles in changing this. And so we've talked about planting more trees and vegetables and even grass, that we don't have to utilize water to keep growing, because water is going to be the next thing that we have a problem with. Is already the Colorado River is dry by the time it hits its mouth. I mean, look at the reservoirs behind the dams on the Colorado River. There's no water in them anymore. Been a drought down there. Our weather patterns are changing. And if we get into drought conditions, it's not looking good for mankind, not looking good. So obviously I want to get on my soapbox. I'm going to shut up for a minute. So anyway, before I interrupt one of you, I wanted to comment about the vertical gardening thing that Ash has come up with, and here's Simone's got an aeroponic farming is the future. Oh gosh. And what else? The Amazon rainforest no longer serves as a carbon sink, and much of it has become savanna. Interesting. So there you have it. My case made right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll growth forest, the climax forest for 1,000 years, because a new forest is not the same as an old growth forest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And so here in Washington State, I don't know, there's not that much old growth forest anymore. In some of the parks, like Olympic National Park, in some of the places, and so it's protected by parks, not by wilderness area, because the wildernesses, a lot of those were abused before they became wilderness, like the Gospel Hump here over in Idaho. That was a huge mining area in the late 1800s, right up through the 1960s, when they became part of the wilderness system. You can still go in there and find roads and tailings piles and all kinds of stuff, and so, the earth recovers, but it'll be centuries before those forests become old growth if they remain protected. Lord knows some president might come in and say, oh, wait, we don't need to protect that area anymore. There might be oil under there or some other deal. And if we don't stick to some of this stuff, it's like the Arctic oil. That was a reserve, because it takes so long for that climate to preserve what it already is. Once it's destroyed, it never goes back. And because a tree this tall, 2 feet tall, might take 100 years to grow in that harsh Arctic permafrost ground. And nothing deteriorates up there because it's slow. Some of the shipwrecks from the 1700s up in the Arctic Circle, still there. They don't go away. And just crazy, harsh environment. And it's hard for things to get. And so you go in and start drilling for oil, then it's changed forever. You never get it back. So anyway, it looks like it's just the two of us now.
Oops.
I think she just got upset because I interrupted again. Don't you think? Hey,
I think she froze.
I'm kidding. I am kidding about that. So go ahead, Casey.
Oh, I was just saying, I think she froze.
You what?
Yeah, I think she froze. So
Francie says vote. I'm not sure voting's enough. Of course we can, and we need to get together on that. But so many species have already become extinct. So true. So true. And there were so many species that have probably become extinct with the destruction of the rainforest in Brazil that we'll never even know they existed.
Yeah.
Because in the top layers of those 100-foot tall or 200-foot tall trees, there's a whole microcosm up there, a microclimate that we don't know down below. So, we need to stop.
And like something else Simone just mentioned is the fact that we should be on a survivor mission now, trying to save what we can. Yeah, it's to that point, really. We are, so many different people are worried about so many different things, like who's using what bathroom and what people have in their pants and whatnot. We've got bigger problems, people. We have much bigger problems, like this big round thing that we're all living on. It's on its way out, and we're going with it. So instead of going after each other, we should be working together to figure out how to keep what we've got. Or else we won't have it anymore. Pretty much that's I don't know. I see on a regular basis, even still, so many different areas where like people are going on and on about this person's doing that and that person's doing this, and this person was here doing that, and it's just like people are putting their time and energy into the wrong places. Most of these things, but it's there's only so much that one can say, but at the same time, like it's on us to actually say something, because it's like one of our quotes. Let's actually get this put up for people to see.
Let's see it.
Is this one here in particular? When you think everything is someone else's fault, you will suffer a lot. When you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you will learn both peace and joy. Let's take this from in the sense of the corporations that are logging and who turn around and start saying, "Oh, well, it's your fault and your fault and your fault for this." That's why some of them have issues. Once they stop and realize maybe what with why our planet is in disarray, those corporations, the ones with the money, the powerhouses, may eventually be able to turn that around. Now, granted, there is still a lot of what's a good phrase for that? Old school people who are still so set in their beliefs that it's really going to be getting rid of them, whether they pass away from old age or they resign or they do something stupid and get fired. But whatever. It's really going to be getting rid of all those old school mentality people and getting the new ones in there before we really have the ability to get that change in effect. We can continue to go on and on all we want to, but it's we have to get our people, and don't necessarily just mean like trans people, people of color. I'm talking about the people who are doing the things that are actually going to make a difference. Just so happens that some of those people are trans people, people of color, but I digress. It's getting the people who can actually make a difference in those positions of power is where the change will actually happen. We just have to get them there. We've already got several people. Oh geez. Dr. Racine, was that Dr. Racine? Or no, Rachel Levine. The trans woman that the president appointed. I forgot what position she's in, but like she's one of the people who is like actually working to make a difference, and it just so happens that she's a trans woman. But at the same time, it seems to be more often that those of us who have lived multiple lives, whether it's two-spirit people, trans people, people who have what's the word I'm looking for? Like gone through like not resurrections, words. Well, but who are like having a second life in other senses. We often have a little more insight and wisdom, but no one wants to listen to us. People, how I want to get rid of people? No, I don't want to get rid of them. I'm just talking about like the natural evolution of them like not being in power anymore. Whether they pass away naturally, I said naturally, or they do something stupid and get fired, or they resign. I'm not looking to get rid of people. It's we need to get the old school mentality out of the positions of power really is where I was going with that. But yeah, I lost the rest of it.
So I want to go back up here for a second because Sarah asked a really pertinent question. Is it not too late? And Francie chimed in with that's my question too. So is it too late? It's never too late. You know, I mean, we got to do what we've got to do. This is the time to still get something done. Yeah, probably we're still going to lose some species. We're not going to be able to get this changed overnight, but we got to start today. And that's what drives me crazy about these freaking summits and whatnot is they're so slow, you know, and to get everybody at the table, you know, we don't have till tomorrow. You know, Casey's a couple of generations younger than like I am. She's got a lot more time, but you know, her kids are threatened by our slowness today. You know, it's my generation that is the generation in power for the most part, and we are just like horrid. We were the ones who fought for some of the environmental changes, and then apathy took over and the corporations took over in our apathy. And oh, I hate to be an ageist, but in some respects I am, because I feel as though my generation has let the country down because we got apathetic. And we had this, you know, Simone brings up a good point, Coca-Cola trying to buy up all the water. We had this in my neighborhood here, the town next door to this one of the big bottling companies came in and tried to buy get permission to put a big plant in and use their water. And it was crazy, you know, because all of a sudden, you know, there's two sides that divides the community, because there's those who are going to get rich off of it, and there's those who are going to be thirsty because of it. And thankfully, the thirsty people won, you know, but it took a community effort to stop that greed, because there was only going to be a couple, 2, 3 people who were going to get rich. And so we can do things together, you know, and this is kind of like the common theme of this channel is unity, because we can do together. You know, if all of us trans folk join together, we can make stuff happen. We can make a difference, you know, and I'm like a broken record. I'm going to keep harping on this, you know, because I can. And I hope y'all bear with me over time. But anyway, Christy, you came back.
Yeah, evidently I'm having some connection problems, but I think it's better now. Wow, so now we're talking about water and water rights, even if it's a bottling plant.
It's just part of the whole deal.
Yeah, I agree. To me, we need to find other solutions. We need to. I don't know if I know Coca-Cola had one of the things they were doing. It was a big red, like a shipping container box, and part of what it provided a local store, but it also provided fresh water, and it used solar power. I'd have to find a reference to that so everybody could actually see what I was talking about. But I don't know what happened with that. You know, it became, to me, it was kind of a look what we're doing kind of thing, which I think a lot of corporations do. But once implemented or the experiment is tried, you don't hear about it anymore. You don't know if it's progressed, or, you know, if it's something that they launched in various countries around the world. So I think when we see things like that from corporations, we need to hold them accountable for, okay, you guys talked about this 5 years ago. Where's it at today? Tell us more. You know, what do you mean you didn't do anything with it?
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
heard of a deal the other day. It was some big corporation. It was a CEO. It was, what's his name? John Stewart called out some CEO of Wall Street Corporation. I'm going to get all the names screwed up here. And they had been talking about doing all these good things. And then when it came down to some kind of vote, they voted against it. You know, so the big corporations do stuff, just like you said, Christy. They do stuff to make you think they're working in that direction. They're going to change. They're going to do this. And then they don't. You know, they vote and throw money against their own thing to make them look good, when really they're still all about greed and money.
Bait and switch.
Yeah, or
Right on. Yeah.
what BP did after the Deep Horizon event in the Gulf Coast. Yeah, you know, there was a lot of making ourselves look good and what we're doing for the community kind of things that you just go, yeah, but you guys really made a mess down there. You know, where did that end up?
Right.
I asked some questions at the time. My father, I said, what happens to oil when it's under pressure? Does it sink to the bottom of the ocean? And what does the bottom of the ocean look like now? Do I want to eat any shrimp out of the Gulf of Mexico? I'm not so sure. You know, it's that kind of question.
Tastes a little bit like your car motor. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this comment about the trash that mankind has left on the planet and now in space. You know, like here in Washington State recently, a law went into effect where they don't give out plastic bags at the grocery store anymore. You know, and I have found that you could buy a bag for 8 cents. And I have got 3 of them that I have found pockets in my purse that they just get really small. And I've used them several times. I like them. You know, the canvas bags always seem so bulky and whatnot. And you can't get that much in them. And these little plastic bags, God, they just fit in my purse. These things, all this plastic that will not ever decompose, freaks me out a little bit. My coffee, you know, just another plug for Ray's Rose Coffee here at www.raysrose.com. No, I'm kidding. Is still in bags that are compostable. You can rip the tin tie off of them. There's no plastic valve in them. They leak air, kids. And you know, but they compost down. You know, these plastic bags that you go to the store and you buy coffee in, that is there for the next 50,000 years minimum. You know, it just doesn't break down. And I mean, when we start looking at things we can do to be activists, use a cloth bag or buy one of those plastic bags that you can reuse over and over. Keep them in your purse. They fold up, you know, you put a rubber band on, do whatever you got to do to keep it small in your purse. So when the checker says, do you have a bag, ma'am? You rip it up. I got it. The lady last night at the grocery store, she just thought it was so funny that I threw 3 bags out on the counter and we put my groceries in it. And I said, oh, could you put the meat in a separate one? You know, and I had plenty of room. It was great. And you know, we can adapt to the new laws. We can adapt. We're humans, for God's sakes. We can adapt to things. Okay. Oh, Christy.
What? You're giving it to me now?
No, I just had you up there. What? Oh, what? Oh, that's the one I just had.
On Simone's note too, like there are even coalitions and corporations that are all about going around and picking up the trash on the beaches. Another very simple way that we can, in our day-to-day lives, help the planet. If you're walking someplace and you see a piece of trash on the ground, pick it up.
Yeah.
Literally one of the it's easier than planting a tree. Pick up some trash that you see on the ground. Try not to
Yeah.
add more. Small things like that eventually add up.
Yeah, it must be nice. Is he going to take all of us with him? Why doesn't he invest the money into saving the earth rather than to getting off of it? What a jackass. Sorry. Simone, that's a waste of time. Which is a waste of time? We forever get their ish together, but choose to remain small and ultimately best to work with those major players right now. Oh, cool. And despite the gross overpopulation of the planet, we who are trans people who have chosen not to reproduce can do well by finding ways to restore ecosystems like First Nation people have told. Yeah, I love that whole, and I really wish Lara was here to bring the First Nations aspect in on this. So we miss you, Lara.
Yeah.
But store stuff. The tribe I worked for years, I love their whole first foods thing. That was the DNR outlook. Was the head of DNR came up with this first foods thing, and for the tradition of that tribe was salmon, venison, goose, and so on down, and there was like several things, and it was kind of like a hierarchy. These are the things that really need to be protected because they were the food of that tribe for centuries,
That's a good idea.
and it was just a magical thing, and it really caught on here in the Northwest. So it was a neat thing. And so that was what we as the biologists did, was work to save the foods of the nation. And I think more of that needs to be done for everybody.
Even that's another thing too. Like, look into what the local Native American tribes are doing, because they've always been more in tune with nature. They're very druidic. They've always been in tune with nature and about keeping their carbon footprint as little as possible. There are ways to do it. It's a lot of it is just people have to put in the effort, and when people don't want to put in the effort, that right there is the foundation of everything. With no effort, nothing happens.
So, Casey, you want to get rid of people?
No. People.
Zaphod's picking on you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, what was I just thinking of? That other quote.
Yeah. And it's one that we can all carry close to us and keep within our day-to-day lives. It's if people
Yeah.
like the Dalai Lama and the Native Americans live with similar, and other similar religions, tribes, whatnot, have lived with similar ideals. Can we put the other one up so that they can see, so they can we can show them?
Right. Yeah. So we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm so far behind on reading my quotes. Pauline is here.
So
You outside?
yeah, I mean it's bad.
Where to go?
Where'd what go? What are you looking for?
Is that the one? Do I need to remove that? Where to go?
You want to come in?
Oh my God.
You don't have to. Okay, you can stay out.
I don't know if we want to. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Oh,
This is the one, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, this is the one.
Okay.
Yeah, because we already looked at the other one. Yeah. Every individual has a responsibility to help guide our global family in the right direction. I'm actively engaged. Yeah. It was like I was saying, like has to be like an active effort. We can't just say, oh well, I hope things go well, because that's only going to get us so far. We have to literally be proactive about it and get up and do something, put in the effort. Several people here have already been saying, talking about, they use reusable shopping bags, picking up trash. It's even like the methane from livestock. So several of us are already on the right path. It's just getting everybody else on the bandwagon. A lot of them are set in their ways, don't like to do things. It's easy and convenient, and it's going to be a divide until we get everybody on that bandwagon.
Well, how do we get everybody on the bandwagon? What do we need to do? What do you think?
Well, an example, maybe a good example, is when Washington State says you can't buy a bag, or you can't hand out plastic bags at the grocery store anymore. So now as long as you have good alternatives and good
I'll tell you
ecological
what.
alternatives for that, then people will go there.
Mm-hmm.
I have stood and I have listened to the people who work at the grocery store bitch about that law. And I've never heard anybody say anything good about it other than what I've said. And that, and so I respond, God, what's the matter with you folks? Aren't you tired of seeing a damn grocery bag run down the side of the road when the wind blows? Aren't you tired of driving out there past the landfill and seeing the piles of grocery bags that are up against the fence that are there? And I mean, you got to start thinking about it. Our country is pretty clean for the most part. I live in an area where there's not a large population, but when I talk to people who live in some of the cities that are kind of going downhill right now, it's a whole nother story. And it's scary. I mean, as the garbage mounts, we've been dumping it in the ocean, and our oceans are dying because of dumping the garbage out there. And I'm afraid that like the ocean's going to be dead in my lifetime, I got 30 more years to go. Well, 29. I'm figuring I'm going to go check out about 100. And so anyway, this is
Ash just brought up something that's I think it was a recent Nova episode on PBS, but eating bugs, which a lot of other is a pretty common in other countries, but not too appealing for us Westerners. But they did have a piece. I think it was the same show. They showed how you could process bugs to make them more palatable to the Western taste buds. So, but it was primarily the thought of if you can make it not look like a bug anymore, then we'd probably eat it. But I was in Bangkok, and I was surprised that people were offering us bugs on the side, like snack treats. Instead of peanut carts, they had bug carts, and I just couldn't go there myself.
I was there just the other night. I was at a place where there was peanuts with bugs mixed in, crickets or some dang thing. And I ate a couple just to see what they taste like. I couldn't taste them. They were just kind of like a crunchy little carapace. But I wanted to put this up here. When things seem hopeless, how do we get motivated? And when you got those rich guys spending billions on trying to get off the planet because they say this is a lost cause, I mean, that really adds to the hopelessness of it all. When we can do great things if we can figure out how to close the gap between people, different communities. We just need unity and creative thinking, and things start to change. But everybody seems to be so locked in to keeping the divides big and calling out the differences as opposed to the commonalities. The truth of it is each one of us is a human being. And we need these things like clean air, clean water, room to move, a clean environment. What does it take to get that message across? I mean, I love the fact that somebody talked about the hopelessness of it all, because it seems that way at times.
Mm-hmm.
I think about my grandson and the future that they have, and do they even have a future? How difficult is it going to be? We seem to think that it's always going to be taken care of, but I don't think it is, because these corporations, while they say one thing, they do something else. And they're the ones that are in power, obviously. It's not us anymore. And I hope that we still have people who come and watch this after this week, because I'm pretty hardcore about this. And but if we're going to take a stand, let's take a stand. If we're going to do something, let's do it. We got no choices, folks.
You asked, well, how can you find hope when things seem hopeless? I do think, one of the statements about politics is it's all local, and I do think that's probably the place to start. If you want to find hope, if you want to find, find some like-minded people and start working together. Maybe it's at a food co-op. Maybe you buy in bulk, and everybody puts in their order, and you start, you're leveraging that market for what you need in a way that is sustainable and hopefully ecologically sound. So I think those kind of things, I think, are part of what needs to happen. People need to get involved at the local level and start, working towards making sure that they're being as ecologically sound and sustainable as they can be. I'm no different. I could do more, and there are things I feel. My lifestyle as such, never living far from work. I walk to work a lot and things like that. But food wise, yeah, I could probably do more. And supporting local products. And I do think we're going to have that issue in the United States where, if a lot of our food was coming from California and it can't anymore because the water isn't there, if that's what it comes to, then we're going to have to find a new way to feed ourselves. And I was one of the things my son, the reason I was in Bangkok was my son wanted to show me Asia, and one of the other, he's currently in South Korea, and we did tour South Korea quite a bit, and I was impressed. I don't know, I kept wondering how they feed themselves, but then it occurred to me, they've got hot houses everywhere. If there's a flat piece of land, chances are it's got a hothouse on it. And I think that's how they're actually producing most of their own food. Is they're sustaining an environment inside a hothouse that's, it's a relatively cold environment. Latitude isn't that much different from where I'm living, and they're able to do it. But we don't do that here, and we could. That's part of what I'm advocating, so to speak. So, yeah, I do plan to get more involved locally for local food production.
And food can be grown at this place if you're up high enough to get sunshine. I did a garden in a house. I was at 2,700 feet, and we had a lot of fog. But what I noticed, is as I moved lower elevation, I couldn't do the wintertime garden in my hothouse because it was too foggy, and so if you're up high enough and you've got sunshine, you can make a simple hoop house and build a cold frame in it and plant vegetables in there, and you can have lettuces and spinach and, well, lettuces not so much, but spinach and other greens grow through the winter in a double protected environment without heat. It's possible. I've done it.
Yeah.
But you got to be where the sun shines.
Yep. And warmth, if you can find warmth. And that might be part of the sunshine. And finding ways to store that heat for the evening or for the season. I was surprised. I was one of the people I talked to at a solar power symposium. They had sand underneath their garage and tubes of water circulating through that sand. And I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." And solar panels on the roof of the garage. And I said, "Does it heat the house in the winter or in the dark when it's nighttime?" And she says, "No, it's seasonal. It stores enough heat. It stored enough heat in there. The sand filled basically a basement below their garage to maintain the temperature in the house all year long." So, they were basically storing heat when the sun was up a lot during the summer, and then pulling that heat out in the wintertime.
Right.
And that's where I live, which is towards almost as far north as Regina is. So, it's pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways of heating without the power. Like I was like reading deals, so if I'm repeating, hey, Bob. But like a big hole in the ground and pump warmer air from the earth into your house and put your heat pump inside, and it takes less energy. outside when it's really, really super cold. I kind of like people eating bugs, and when you're hungry enough, never say never. I love that. Oh, my friend Gracie is here. Hi, Gracie. I hope I haven't missed saying hi to anybody. I love the fact that we have Beeble with us today. And Gracie's here now. I don't know. Did I miss anybody else? If I've missed somebody, say something. Oh, we got the privilege deal. Many Americans tend to feel privileged, having special rights or advantages that most people do not have. Yeah, so true. So true. We do that. I don't know what to think about privilege. So anyway, here it is, 11 after. I think we beat this thing about to death, you know. What a great conversation, though.
Yeah.
Did we accomplish anything? How would you summarize our whole thing?
Maybe that's one thing we could do is ask people what their takeaways are in the chat. What do you feel you could do, or what did you learn today? I guess I don't know.
So good idea. So if you know, ancient form of air conditioning is with wind towers operating on the stack of principle, drawing cool air from underground and lifting it through by convection. It's so nice to have intelligent people around, you know, super intelligent. I didn't know that. Did they do that before? I know I used to go down in the dirt basement of the old farmhouse that I lived in. And in the summertime, it was so cool down there, you know, because we didn't have air conditioning. We were just poor folk. Building low-cost, environmentally friendly homes is a sign of moving in the right direction, and the Earth Home Builder makes the process amazingly efficient. Some of the Earth homes that are here in the Walla Walla area are so freaking expensive. They're not for people like me, you know, and it's not low income stuff.
Like that's another good way of it, like making things less about money and more about, which I know it's a you know, a pipe dream, making things less about, you know, money profit, and more about, okay, what can we do to start turning the tide on things? Okay, let's lower the costs of housing, because, you know, a lot of times landlords are not fond of certain changes, like, you know, solar panels and putting, you know, buildings in the backyards. Some are okay with it, but most of them are like, no, it's my property, you can't do that. So like working towards making things of that nature easier to do. Yes, Simone. Less about money, and more about sustainability. What can we do to sustain? Okay, solar panels on our houses to create create and recycle our own energy, and using less things like, you know, natural gas, which we have to dig for. You know, that big ball of fire in the sky gives us energy naturally. We just have to you know, use it.
Right.
Instead of digging for things that are hurting the planet. Okay, so, you know, even if like the corporations, these people with the money, take and buy the solar panels and put them on their apartment buildings themselves, like it's because then they can get the benefits from, you know, all the rebates and whatnot, and keeping money in their pockets and whatnot. It's a lot of them don't look at the long term. They're only looking at the here and now, which is another problem, but we could go into a whole nother show about that. But it can start at the upper tier level where the money is and trickle it down, make housing more affordable for people. Like, one of the other big things is, the amount of homeless people. Like, give them a place to live. But anyways,
Another show.
and then like even then they can, because a lot of times, you can't get a house without, you can't get a house without a job, and you can't get a job without a house. So there's like that eternal catch-22. Well, give them some place to live. That's a start. And going back to Francie's thing about hopeless, a lot of times, homeless people feel like there's no hope. So giving them something sparks the hope. We just have to find those things that are going to give those sparks of hope, because those sparks of hope is what's going to light the fire for change, of the fire of change.
Right on. I want to talk about this a little bit. The House of Ash. We need more acceptance of earthship home construction, but many localities forbid it. Not only does it work in desert, but people grow their own food within, which reminds me of a book I once read. It was called Solviva, and it was like an A-frame house. It had a wall of water barrels in the center of it, and then one whole half of it was glass, and the other side that was on the shady side, that was the living quarters. And they heated that, the sun coming in would heat that wall of water, and they were growing tropical fruit all winter long. I can't remember. It was in the northern tier, like Christy and Lara. Well, all four of us are,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, we're all about the same lat, and so there's possibilities out there that it can be done, but we're afraid to do it. We've let the powers that be control our minds to think that we can't do anything, and the truth of it is we can. I also wanted to reassure Sarah that I think that you're just fine, sweetie, and you are not stupid. I did not mean to imply that any of the rest of us. This is a smart group of people here, everybody. And the other thing, in regards to what Christy was talking about earlier, in the giving money to nations to stop logging. How about we give money to landlords to switch over to solar panels? Motivation, for homeowners to switch. I know there's a lot of places, there's programs that exist that we don't know about, and they just are not talked about a lot. And here Simone talking about bamboo flooring and tankless water heaters. Yes, tankless water heaters, that's like one of the next things I want in my house. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think when my water heater dies, it's going to be a tankless one after that, personally.
These are the things that we can do that are activism. And I think that if we each work on, consciously make these decisions to put solar panels on anything that we can, like our flashlight, or do bamboo flooring. Bamboo is an amazing thing, and it's just a grass. You need to control it so it doesn't go wild, but it is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go through some more comments here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Isn't the caveat to a post office box though that you have to have a physical address in order to get one? I could have swore
I
because
don't know.
I think I tried to get a PO box once in between moving, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have a physical address.
Well,
I don't remember though.
somebody else addressed that issue. If somebody vouches for you and says, "Yeah, they live here," then you could list that address and then get the post office box,
Yeah.
and then get all your mail through the post office box. So, I think there are some good ways to get around these things.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
So
it's
true.
sad that we have to find alternative ways of making something work, though. That's ultimately it should be a no-brainer, right?
We shouldn't need the loopholes.
Yes, we shouldn't have to make it harder for people to figure out to solve their own problems.
Mhm.
Hemp or bamboo for clothing. Yeah, amen. You know,
I don't know.
I've had bamboo socks before.
Yeah,
Those
are they
were-
good? Can you
I
make hemp
thought
soft
so.
enough
I
that people
what's
feel
that?
comfortable in it? Can you make hemp soft enough to where people feel comfortable with it? I'm just
If you
asking
can
the
make
question.
bamboo soft enough to where people are comfortable, you can
Okay.
make hemp soft enough. I mean, it's really pretty similar in structure. I think bamboo's a little stiffer than hemp, even the fibers, but rope, you just need to make when you're making your thread, it just needs to be smaller.
Mhm.
Just keep going down.
Something else that's another thing that another small thing is like a lot of times, and I understand that there are some things where that we kind of need to be in better condition, but there, these Goodwill, thrift stores, um, places. Chloe did a review on one ThreadUp, where you can buy used clothes. If we're buying clothes that already exist and have to make less, that's another way to start. It's just little things that we can do here and there to actively make a difference. Like and a lot of times they offer the used clothing at ridiculous discounts. I once bought like $300-$400 worth of clothes for like $90, and I was like, okay, including shipping. I was like,
Wow.
okay, and all I had to do was wait a few days for it. But the clothes were nice. I wear them to work. And
So,
I'm all about Goodwill. I can tell you that right now. Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul.
Yeah.
And working the racks, finding something that looks good. It's like a treasure trove, and multiple styles. I love it. That's just me, though.
Yes, Regina.
Well, I keep wanting to make a comment about Francie's comment here about maintaining a job when you're homeless. So is there something we can do to make it easier to be homeless and keep a job? Because it's got to be hard to get clean and whatnot, and hard to hold. I've not been at that point. I've always at least had a place where I can go get a shower pretty easily. But some people, like the ones that are sleeping on the streets of a big city, they don't have those kind of things. And so it would be very true to maintain a job. Oh gosh, watch for cops staying out of the way of rats. I mean, that's really the truth. That's Portland for you. So anyway, let's wrap this up. I got places to go, things to do, and it's Sunday. So Well, I've enjoyed today. Being up on my soapbox for the last hour and a half has been really a lot of fun. I don't get to spend a lot of time on my soap. People start throwing things at me anymore, you know. I have soapbox will travel. But anyway, what a great audience we've had today. They've really helped out.
Mhm.
I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. And we have food for thought. I love questions. I don't have answers. You know, we're just humans. We don't know the answers. These are what I think about the answers. And I'm kind of, you know, I don't know. It's so we've such a long ways to go, but we've got to start living in the solution to things and unity. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it. Unity.
You're not wrong.
We will get places if we can unify and do together what I cannot do alone. Last thoughts, Casey. Wahoo.
Yeah, it's less about the divide and more about unity. We're all, regardless of what we look like, our background, whatever, our skill set, whatever, we all share one thing in common, and that's the human being. We need to be working together. We need to unify to protect and maintain what we have.
Right on. Right on. Christy.
Yeah, if we can all join together and work towards a common goal and understand, how we can address those common goals in our own personal life. I think that's really the task that's most important right now, and understanding that the world's at stake, literally. So, thanks for being in. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Loved all the comments and love that you guys put out there. Keep coming back, please. Oh my gosh. It's time to roll and go. And so long. I'm going to put on the outro stuff, and if I can find it, where is it? They changed everything. Oh my stars. And so y'all have a great week, and we will see you next week. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.